480 million years ago, continents collided and forced the Earth's surface upward. From that collision rose the Appalachians, a mountain range older than the Atlantic Ocean and once higher than the Himalayas. Over ages, storms and time carved them down, leaving the oldest mountains still standing on Earth. But what time didn't erase? History nearly did. In Shawnee, rusted machinery and abandoned homes stand where thousands once lived. Devil's Bathtub still runs with icy water that's carved the same stone for ages. And in Blue Heron, the remains of a coal camp linger on the cliffs above the river, structures rebuilt from memory, standing where an entire town once disappeared. Stay with me as we uncover Appalachia's most extraordinary wonders, where rare discoveries and forgotten mysteries might change the way you see this region forever. Coal mining transformed Appalachia from a rural region into an industrial centre, which began modestly in the early 1800s, but the arrival of railroads in the late 19th century triggered a nationwide surge in coal demand. Railway expansion alone consumed 1/4 of all its production, accelerating the region's transition. By 2011, employment peaked at over 60,000 workers before falling by more than half, as natural gas became the cheaper energy source. Inside the mines, workers relied on a system of sounds and signals to communicate in the darkness. Many later developed black lung disease from years of inhaling coal dust, which scarred lung tissue and caused gradual respiratory failure. Kmart is a coal mining town in West Virginia that tested the limits of its workers, hauling coal along a steep incline in opposite directions that stretched over 1,000 feet at a 30-degree angle. The mine operated 2 separate towns, one at the gorge bottom, accessible only by railroad, and another at the rim above. Workers climbed the narrow track daily to reach the mine entrance carved into the mountainside, enduring long hours and strict pay deductions if coal cars contained too much rock. When management refused to modernise with automated mining machines, the operation fell behind competitors and eventually shut down. Residents abandoned the bottom town first, then the top community closed as operations ceased. Today, New Camp is the only remaining settlement, while the rest of Kmart lies in ruins. Despite being the most visited national park in the country, the Great Smoky Mountains are infamous for the many unexplained disappearances of people. Cases such as Dennis Martin, a 6-year-old child who vanished in 1969, remain unsolved even after extensive searches covering 60 square miles. Some believe he was lost, others insist he was taken, either by a wild animal or a mysterious stranger seen nearby carrying cloth over their shoulder. Another involved Thelma Polly Melton, a woman who set out for a hike with her two friends in 1981, but at some point went further ahead on the trail and disappeared without a trace. There are also whispers of feral humans living deep inside the untracked forests of the mountains, avoiding contact and sometimes said to be responsible for disappearances. Hikers report strange sensations, moving shadows or glimpses of barefoot figures among the trees. Among the wildlife of the mountain is the wood thrush, a bird that has brown feathers and a white chest marked with dark spots. This species is known to sing actively at dawn and dusk when acoustic conditions enhance sound transmission through the forest. Using both sides of its syrinx, the species can produce two separate tones simultaneously, allowing it to harmonise with itself and create distinctive, flute-like notes. These sounds often reflect off trees and rocks, making it difficult to determine the bird's exact location. When threatened or searching for food, the wood thrush flips through leaf litter, creating a quiet rustle that can sound like footsteps moving through the woods. Elkmont ghost town began as Little River, named for its position along the upper Little River Valley. In the early 1900s, after a railroad brought in both timber and tourists, the Knoxville Elks Club frequented the area, and the name shifted to Elkmont in their honour. When the park was established, most of the 70 cabins and buildings were abandoned as owners gave up their claims, turning the town into a maze of empty structures and silent trails. The Elkmont Whisper is a phenomenon where groups of people hear repeated names or phrases, but the source is never found, adding to the town's uncanny reputation. The isolated valley of Cades Cove draws its name from Chief Cade, a Tsiahi leader whose legacy was confirmed by early European traders, but little else is recorded of him, giving the place a shadowy origin. It is well known for its unpredictable weather, where a sunny afternoon turns into a violent storm within minutes. This phenomenon has been reported since early settlement and is often linked to the area's legends, such as one about Mavis Estep, a woman who feared death by lightning and asked her husband never to put her handmade quilt on a metal bed. After her passing, her request was ignored and her husband was then found charred without explanation. locals blame her angry spirit and point to burn marks in old cabins, cautioning against disrespecting last wishes. When night falls over Cades Cove, a silent hunter takes flight, the saw-whet owl, the smallest owl in the eastern regions, no larger than a robin. Its oversized eyes give it a fixed, penetrating stare, while asymmetrical ear openings, one higher than the other, allow it to locate prey with pinpoint accuracy using sound alone. During the day, the owl remains perfectly still on its roost, blending so well with tree bark that it's often mistaken for a knot or stuffed specimen. When disturbed, it rarely takes flight, and instead locks its golden eyes on intruders in an unblinking stare. Additionally, its flight feathers are edged to muffle noise, and its facial disc channels even the faintest sounds toward its specialized ears, enabling it to hunt and navigate the forest in complete silence. The Smoky Mountains also feature the Walker Sisters' cabin, a historic homestead consisting of a main house, spring house, and corn crib, once owned by 5 unmarried sisters who became local legends for preserving traditional mountain life. Their home was built from 2 older cabins, one from the 1840s and another from the 1850s, that their father dismantled and reassembled into a single dwelling, which remained without electricity or running water throughout their lifetimes. For nearly a century, the property stayed within the same family and has been one of the park's best preserved examples of Appalachian self-sufficiency. When the government later attempted to evict them after the park's establishment, the sisters resisted and successfully secured permission to remain on their land. To adapt, they supported themselves by selling handmade crafts and poems to visitors who travelled from across the country to witness their way of living. Sharing the same space as the deer in Cades Cove, and even the limited areas like Elkmont, are the thousands of synchronous fireflies that perform a unique mating ritual each June. After pupation in spring, adults emerge for a brief mating period lasting around 2 weeks, focusing entirely on reproduction without feeding. The males flash in a distinct pattern, which is 5 to 8 quick flashes, followed by about 8 seconds of darkness. It then becomes synchronized with nearby males, creating waves of light pulsating through the forest, and females respond with flashes from vegetation while remaining mostly still, guiding the males toward them. The Blue Ridge Mountains, composed of metamorphic rocks, extend uninterrupted through 8 states, forming the eastern edge of the Appalachian chain. They contain some of the oldest exposed rock on the continent, created during the collision of land masses that produced the supercontinent Rodinia. Within the northern section, you can find the Brown Mountain, which is known for reports of glowing orbs dating back to the early 20th century. These lights appear as star-like dots, moving independently of wind or weather, with some hovering motionless and others darting across the ridgeline. Witnesses also report that the orbs materialise suddenly, glow intensely, and then vanish abruptly. Despite multiple investigations, no explanation accounts for all documented sightings. While unexplained lights drift across Brown Mountain, predators move through the same airspace, hunting at dawn and dusk. The merlin, North America's smallest falcon, can strike prey larger than itself and remains mostly silent, except near nesting sites where it produces sharp, accelerating calls. Its tail has prominent dark terminal bands and multiple narrow stripes that flash during rapid directional changes when flying. Its facial markings lack the strong moustache stripe seen in other falcons, and both sexes show a faint whitish line above the eye, while only males' cere and feet turn from yellow to reddish with age. Perched upright on exposed branches, it scans for prey with precise mechanical sweeps, while on the ground, it moves with short hops, using stealth, speed, and unique anatomy to dominate its hunting territory. Cass, established in 1901 by the West Virginia pulp and paper business, was a town where workers lived in company-owned homes. A railroad was built to haul red spruce logs down Cheat Mountain using specialised locomotives called shays, with workers riding the trains back and forth each day, spending entire shifts in isolated wilderness. Wages were paid in company scrip, forcing residents to spend exclusively at company-owned stores, and housing was arranged in identical rows with larger homes reserved for supervisors. At its peak, the town supported over 2,000 residents, with leisure activities such as theatre strictly managed by the town's owners. Today, visitors can experience both the accommodations and train rides, which provide a direct link to the town's original industrial activity, as it has become a state-operated railroad park. Cass's Scenic Railroad State Park runs on 11 miles of the original logging track that climbs Bald Knob, the third highest peak in West Virginia. The state purchased the line in 1962 after a scrapping company began dismantling it, following efforts by local businessmen who convinced legislators to preserve the route. Tourist excursions began in 1963, carrying passengers in converted logging flat cars pulled by the same Shay locomotives that once hauled timber. Currently, a private operator manages the park under lease from the state, while maintaining the historical authenticity of its operations. Hocking Hills State Park is well regarded for its cliffs and caves, which were formed over millions of years by water carving through the Black Hand sandstone. The unique formations, gorges and caves are the result of ancient uplift and erosion, not glacial activity, making them rare for the region. It features over 25 miles of trails, with many cave landmarks that incite general curiosity and superstition due to their ancient presence and long histories. Early tribes like the Shawnee, Delaware and Wyandot used these caves for shelter and left petroglyphs and artefacts that remain today. The Old Man's Cave is a deep gorge system, named after a famous legend regarding an old man and his dog who were buried under a cave ledge in the area. A local hermit named Richard Rowe, known as the Old Man, reportedly lived and died in the cave in the 19th century. Legends say his ghost and the sound of his faithful dog still echo through the gorge, especially during full moons. As the only true cave in the park, Rock House is a tunnel midway up a 150-foot cliff that possesses a long legacy of being used as a shelter by various groups of people, such as the Native Americans, pioneers, outlaws and travellers. Unlike other caves in the region, it visibly resembles a house with stone pillars, a roof overhead, and window-like openings in the sides. It was also known locally as Robber's Roost, reportedly serving as a hideout for bandits and bootleggers in the 1800s, with rumours of hidden loot still circulating. Another legend revolves around William Reynolds, a herdsman who used the cave as a barn and who died following a bear attack in the area in 1863. Ash Cave is the largest recessed cave east of the Mississippi, a horseshoe-shaped sandstone overhang with a seasonal waterfall that drops 90 feet over the rim. Its natural acoustics create a whispering gallery effect, making sounds carry across its massive shelter. Adding to its eerie atmosphere is an abundance of local folklore, such as one that notes 2 pioneer children supposedly fall to their deaths at the cave while fleeing from native pursuers, and their screams are rumoured to echo on quiet nights. Visitors sometimes report encountering the apparition of a mysterious woman in a 1920s dress, said to follow groups in and out of the cave recess. A Apart from its famous caves, Hocking Hills State Park is also home to unusual wildlife like the red crossbill, a bird whose bill tips cross permanently, with the upper mandible hooking downward and the lower curving upward in the opposite direction. Some of them develop bills that cross left over right, while others cross right over left, creating mirror image variations within the same species. Their biting muscles are stronger than those used to open the bill, enabling them to force closed cones apart through sheer pressure. Young chicks sometimes starve in the nest despite the presence of food, as they cannot compete with stronger siblings, resulting in selective mortality. Interestingly, different crossbill types ignore each other's calls completely, as if speaking mutually incomprehensible languages, despite appearing nearly identical. Built on a hillside in Ohio, Shawnee developed a postcard-like appearance, with wooden storefronts and brick buildings rising from the slope. At its peak, over 3,000 residents from European countries filled its neighbourhoods, including Little Italy and New England Hill. During the coal boom, Shawnee became the entertainment capital of eastern Appalachian Ohio, home to the Tecumseh Theatre, saloons and family restaurants along Main Street. A violent labour dispute once ignited underground fires that still burn beneath the Wayne National Forest, leaving behind sinkholes along the Buckeye Trail. Today, much of the town remains preserved in isolation, often photographed and labelled online as a ghost town, though locals reject the term, emphasising that Shawnee is still a living community with active residents. Blue Heron, originally known as Mine 18, operated as a company town owned entirely by the Stearns Coal and Lumber Company, which controlled every building, business and home. The town was intentionally built to be temporary, its buildings made of lightweight materials with no strong foundations, so they could be dismantled and moved to new mining sites once coal was depleted. When operations ceased, many structures were either relocated to other camps or left to decay along the riverbank. None of the originals survived, prompting the National Park Service to reconstruct the site using ghost structures, which are open metal frameworks that are modelled on the former buildings. Today, visitors can hear audio recordings within these skeletal frames, where former residents recount life in the once isolated mining community. New River Gorge National Park and Preserve protects a deep canyon carved by the New River, one of the oldest rivers on Earth. Despite its name, the New River is estimated to be hundreds of millions of years old, predating the Appalachian Mountains through which it flows. The river's unusual northward flow and ancient origin have made it a subject of geological study and local legend. Soaring 876 feet above the river is the New River Gorge Bridge, one of the world's longest single-span steel arch bridges. Completed in the late 1970s, it transformed travel in the region, reducing a 45-minute drive across winding roads to less than a minute. The bridge is constructed from weathering steel, which never needs painting, a cost-saving and practical innovation. The preserve also provides a habitat for various wildlife, including raft spiders. These spiders hunt by waiting at the water's edge, with their back legs anchored to vegetation and their front legs resting on the surface, to detect prey through vibrations. Belonging to the genus Dolomedes, this group includes nearly 100 species distributed across every continent, except Antarctica and South America, most of which are semi-aquatic hunters. Covered in hydrophobic hairs that trap air bubbles, they can also breathe while submerged underwater. Interestingly, females are known for sexual cannibalism, often attacking and consuming males before, during, or shortly after mating. Thurmond is a nearly abandoned coal town in the New River Gorge, famous for its preserved historic buildings and its status as one of the least populous municipalities in West Virginia, with a population of fewer than 10 people. The town was established in the late 1800s by Captain William D. Thurmond, who received land as payment for surveying work and saw the potential for a railroad and coal centre along the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway. The Bell Witch Cave, located near Adams, Tennessee, lies on the property once owned by the infamous Bell family. From 1817 to 1821, they were reportedly tormented by an entity that defied explanation. The legend began when strange noises became unsettling fixtures in the Bell household, which soon escalated to violent attacks on family members, especially John Bell and his daughter Betsy. Invisible hands pinched, slapped and pulled, and the entity spoke, hurling insults and quoting scripture, as well as revealing knowledge far beyond what any ordinary being could possess. The spirit even reportedly covered John Bell Sr.'s sudden illness, believed by many to be caused by poisoning from the entity itself. Matewan, located at the confluence of the Tug Fork River and Mate Creek in Mingo County, was originally established in the 1870s as Mate Creek Post Office before being renamed Sydney, and later Matewan. Situated within the Pocahontas coalfield, one of the largest non-unionised mining areas in the country at the time, the town eventually became the centre of intense labour conflict. During this period, a town hotel served as headquarters for the Baldwin Felts Detective Agency before it was later destroyed by fire. Meanwhile, the business-filled Main Street was the site of the Matewan massacre, a shootout between local miners and Baldwin Felts detectives. It was triggered when the detectives evicted union families from company housing and threw their belongings into the mud. Today, the West Virginia Division of Culture and History dedicated a metal historical marker to commemorate this tragedy. Located where the Potomac and Shenandoah rivers meet, Harper's Ferry, National Historical Park is renowned for its industrial past, its role in the anti-slavery movement, and as a key location during the Civil War. In fact, the town was a focal point during the Civil War, changing hands multiple times and serving as the location where thousands of Union troops surrendered to Confederate forces. It became the site of a federal armory, chosen for its access to water power from the rivers. The armory was a major producer of muskets and rifles, and it became a centre for technological innovation, including the development of interchangeable parts for firearms. It was originally planned as a memorial to John Brown, whose 1859 raid on the armory is the most famous event in Harper's Ferry's history. The armory's fire engine house, now known as John Brown's Fort after his raid, is the only armory building that survived the Civil War. It became a symbol of the abolitionist movement, even inspiring the song John Brown's Body. Helvetia is in the rugged southwestern corner of Randolph County, often described by locals as an hour from anywhere. For over 30 years, the community lived in near isolation, speaking Swiss-German dialects and building familiar institutions without outside contact. When the first settlers arrived, they discovered their efforts were worthless because the land had already been claimed through an overlapping survey, forcing them to buy it a second time. Over time, the village's most famous tradition, Fasnacht, took shape. Masked villagers would try to chase away the spirits of winter and playfully mock the fasting and restrictions of Lent. During the celebration, frightening papier-mâché masks are worn, and an effigy called Old Man Winter is cut down and burned in a bonfire. Today, visitors often describe Helvetia as having an eerie, dreamlike quality, an enchantment about the place that makes it feel not quite real. Adding to the village's eerie atmosphere is the presence of long-eared owls, one of the most elusive and nocturnal owl species. This breed is very rare in the eastern states, with only scattered nesting records documented in Maine, Virginia, and West Virginia. During the day, they roost silently against tree trunks with eyes narrowed to slits, appearing frozen or lifeless, and often going unnoticed, even by those walking directly beneath them. At night, they sometimes investigate human observers by approaching from behind, emerging suddenly without warning or sound. Their eyes glow bright orange-red when reflecting light at night, which looks unsettling when spotted in the darkness. Moreover, adults clack their bills rapidly when disturbed, producing a sharp mechanical sound that seems unnatural coming from a living creature. They also display a defensive behaviour that involves thrashing on the ground, with wings spread unnaturally, mimicking something possessed. Chimney Rock is a 535 million year old granite monolith formation in the Blue Ridge Mountains. The distinctive chimney shape is the result of continuous erosion carving away softer surrounding materials while leaving the resistant granite core intact. The elevator system, completed in 1949, required 8 tons of dynamite to blast a 258-foot shaft and 198-foot tunnel through solid rock, making it the first elevator built inside a mountain. Also, the original tourist stairway to reach the summit was built in 1885, making Chimney Rock one of the earliest developed tourist attractions in western North Carolina. In 1811, multiple witnesses observed 2 opposing armies riding tiny winged horses engaged in aerial combat above the rock for several evenings. The final battle reportedly lasted 10 minutes, with sounds of clashing metal and groans of the wounded echoing through the gorge. The state park is known not only for its views, but also for its wildlife. One example is the stag beetle, which hovers upright in the air and produces a distinctive buzzing sound while flying awkwardly. These beetles have 5 pairs of legs, but their front pair is shorter than the hind legs, making walking forward extremely difficult. Historically, superstition in England labelled them as devil's imps, with locals believing they were sent to destroy corn crops and stoning them on sight. However, despite their fearsome appearance and grim nickname, their mandibles are too weak to harm humans and are used solely for combat with other beetles. males use their oversized mandibles to wrestle rivals, attempting to flip them off branches by dislodging their tarsal claws and breaking their balance, while females have smaller mandibles but much stronger jaws. Their hunting area goes beyond the rock itself and includes the tall waterfall that made this place world famous, the Hickory Nut Falls. This waterfall ranks as the second tallest east of the Mississippi River. The location gained worldwide fame when it served as the dramatic backdrop for the climactic duel between Chingachgook and Magua in The Last of the Mohicans, with the final fight scene filmed at the very brink of the falls. Cumberland Falls is a landform that nearly vanished when developers proposed building a hydroelectric dam upstream, which would have diverted the river through a mountain tunnel and completely bypassed the waterfall. Preservationists intervened twice to halt these projects and save it from destruction. The waterfall formed at an escarpment miles downstream and has slowly retreated upstream for thousands of years, carving a gorge nearly 400 feet deep as it continues to erode and shift position. Remarkably, Cumberland Falls is one of only 2 places in the entire Western Hemisphere where a natural rainbow created by mist and moonlight appears during full moons, a rare phenomenon known as the Moonbow. This optical occurrence happens when moonlight refracts through water droplets, in the same way sunlight creates rainbows, except the moon serves as the light source. To the human eye, it appears white because moonlight is too dim to activate colour receptors in the retina, though long exposure cameras can reveal its full spectrum. For it to show, the moon must be full or nearly full, positioned below 42 degrees in the sky, and the night must remain completely dark and cloudless. Apart from the fascinating lights, people also visit Cumberland Falls to see the wildlife it hosts, such as barn owls. These owls' ear openings are asymmetrically placed, with one higher than the other, causing sounds to reach each ear at different times and allowing the brain to pinpoint the exact location of prey. Their heart-shaped faces act as parabolic sound collectors, directing even the faintest noises to the inner ears hidden behind their eyes. Females have darker brown feathers around the rim of the facial disc, small black spots on the chest, and darker tail bars, while males are generally lighter, with more pure white undersides. However, their feathers are not waterproof like other birds, so they avoid hunting in the rain, as wet feathers increase noise and reduce hunting efficiency. The Devil's Bathtub gained explosive popularity after being featured on social media and recognised by a Weather Channel as Virginia's top hidden attractions. Its sandstone formation collects emerald green water in a natural pool shaped like an actual bathtub, with smooth rock walls polished by constant flow and algae-covered surfaces that make footing slippery. It lived up to its name when rising water levels, steep terrain, and narrow gorges led to a multi-agency rescue for trapped hikers, including one who suffered a serious head injury and unfortunately did not survive. Following these incidents, the Forest Service temporarily closed the trail and reclassified Devil's Fork as unsuitable for beginners, countering social media portrayals of it as an easy family destination. Today, the site remains open under stricter safety guidelines, continuing to attract visitors while emphasising caution and preparedness. The Shenandoah Valley lies between the Blue Ridge Mountains to the east and the Allegheny Mountains to the west, forming part of the Great Appalachian Valley. Within this region are towns such as Strasburg, Woodstock and Newmarket, along with smaller communities like Edinburgh and Toms Brook. Mountains bordering the area were formed by the collision of the North American and African plates, while rain, wind, ice and sun gradually eroded limestone, shale and sandstone, depositing fertile sediments across the valley floor. This rich soil, abundant in limestone and other carbonate rocks, sustains diverse ecosystems and supports over 200 species, classified as needing conservation attention. Additionally, its geology supports cave formation, including one both fascinating and unsettling, with tall stalagmites, twisted flowstone, and shadowed reflective pools, the Luray Caverns. This site is a limestone cave system covering 64 acres with chambers ranging from 30 to 140 feet high, connected by corridors, stairways and bridges. The caverns formed when acidic water seeped through limestone and clay, slowly eroding chambers. Human bone fragments, charcoal and flint embedded in stalagmites indicate previous occupation, including the skeleton of a Native American girl believed to have been entombed for 5 centuries. Explorers also noticed marks of oscillation on the ceiling, indicating that the entire cave system had once been completely flooded. Additionally, the lake inside produces perfect reflections, causing visitors to consistently misjudge its depth, believing stalactites extend many feet below the surface, when it is actually only inches deep. The Shenandoah Valley is not only host to interesting geological sites, but also to unique wildlife, including the eastern screech owl, which relies on exceptional hearing and head rotation, to navigate the dense forests. This odd owl exists in two distinct colour forms, grey or reddish-brown, with no intermediate variations, and both morphs can appear within the same population, sometimes making siblings look like different species. Its eyes are so large that they cannot move within their sockets, forcing it to rotate its head, which can turn up to 270 degrees in either direction without interrupting blood flow to the brain. Despite its name, the screech owl does not screech. It produces an even-pitched trill or a descending whinny that sounds ghostly in the darkness. Along with this, disc-shaped feathers surrounding its eyes act as parabolic sound collectors, channeling even the faintest sounds into the ear openings on the sides of its head. Large geometric shapes cover several acres along the tributaries of the Ohio River and showcase remarkable precision. This is Hopewell Ceremonial Earthworks, a World Heritage Site preserving 8 monumental earthworks constructed by the Hopewell culture. The exact purpose of many earthworks remains unclear, with no written or oral records surviving from their creators. Archaeologists believe the earthworks served as gathering places for ceremonies connected to celestial observations, often involving rituals around the movements of the sun and moon. Part of the complex is the Newark Earthworks, constructed approximately 2,000 years ago along the banks of the Licking River. Encompassing over 3,000 acres, it is considered one of the largest and most complex prehistoric earthwork systems in North America. Legends reference a powerful force stored within the mounds, potentially a spiritual guardian or cosmic energy source. Meanwhile, ancient geoglyph experts point to evidence of complex numerical and geometric systems encoded in the earthworks, suggesting advanced knowledge of math and cosmology was embedded in the design. Centralia is a near-abandoned town in Columbia County, known for the underground coal mine fire that has been burning beneath it for decades since 1962. The town was once a coal mining hub, built around the anthracite industry that fueled homes, factories, and railroads. A subterranean coal fire ignited accidentally in a landfill, spreading through abandoned mine tunnels. Toxic gases and ground collapses forced most residents to relocate, though a handful refused to leave. Moonville Tunnel, constructed in 1856 as part of the Marietta and Cincinnati Railroad, was built to transport coal through southeastern Ohio's rugged terrain. The tunnel is located near the former town it was named after, which has long since vanished, leaving behind a nearly ghostly landscape of overgrown paths, remnants of homes, and a cemetery. Locals and visitors claim to see a glowing lantern or flickering orb inside the tunnel, sometimes described as the ghost of a brakeman crushed by a train in 1859, whose tragic death was reported in contemporary newspapers. Many other ghost stories have persisted for over a century, fueled by the tunnel's dark history, where at least 27 fatal accidents occurred. The dangers stemmed from the tunnel's narrow single track, high-speed trains, and treacherous trestles only yards away from its entrances. Lost Cove was a settlement in North Carolina, perched 1,000 feet above the Nolichucky River in Poplar Gorge, accessible only through rugged terrain. Its founder bought the land from a Native American for $10 and a shotgun before the Civil War, and the community later thrived on moonshine, taking advantage of its location along the state line where law enforcement was limited. Residents petitioned for a road, but the request was denied, and the last families eventually left on foot, carrying what they could. Most structures were destroyed by fires in 2007, leaving skeletal remains scattered across the cove, alongside 3 surviving houses, stone chimneys, a cemetery, and rusted vehicles. Today, hikers visit the cemetery, explore the remaining structures, wander the isolated site, and some even search for paranormal activity. The Monongahela National Forest spans a vast expanse of mountainous terrain in the Allegheny Mountains, covering over 919,000 acres in eastern West Virginia. It was established after widespread deforestation in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, and the Weeks Act allowed for land purchases to protect watersheds and manage resources. The first land acquisition was known as the Monongahela Purchase, and the area was designated as an official national forest shortly after. Most of the forest is now second growth, having regrown after being heavily cut. Seneca Rocks is a prominent quartzite formation, rising nearly 900 feet above the North Fork River. They were formed from sand deposited at the edge of an ancient ocean hundreds of millions of years ago. Notably, these rocks became a training site for mountain troops during World War II. Today, they are a well-known destination for rock climbing and hiking, with a documented climbing history that dates back to the 1930s. Hidden within the national park, the Falls of Hills Creek are a series of 3 cascading waterfalls, with the tallest dropping over 60 feet. The site is accessible by a boardwalk and trails, and is one of the highest waterfall locations in the region. Fort Mountain State Park is located at the western edge of the Blue Ridge in the southern Appalachian Mountains. It officially opened in 1936, after the Civilian Conservation Corps constructed the lake, buildings, hiking trails, and conducted extensive forestry work. Visitors to the park often report hearing distant drum beats or glimpsing figures wearing bear skins along the collapsed wall sections. According to Cherokee oral tradition, some of the mountain structures were built by the Moon-Eyed people, a race of pale-skinned beings who emerged only after sunset. These nocturnal beings were described as small in stature, with light-sensitive eyes that rendered them nearly blind in daylight. This is Appalachia region, a land of hidden wonders and remarkable architectural marvels. Now, if you don't want to miss the most unreal wonders of Georgia State, check out this video.